स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदमय्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादे पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो राम रामो हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you all for a weekly Gita class. My voice is not very strong because of this yatra. So we'll see how many verses I can do. Okay. So Param Dayal Prabhu told me that we have to start from verse number 33 of the 6th chapter. So this 6th chapter, just a minute. Yeah. So the 6th chapter is entitled Dhyana Yoga. So uh, till this point, Krishna is explaining the entire process of Dhyana Yoga. So now, after hearing the entire discussion and the understanding of Dhyana Yoga, Arjuna wants to honestly express whether he can follow this process or not. So this is a very important verse in the 6th chapter, text 33. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogas त्वया प्रोक्त साम्येन मधुसूदन एतस्याहं न पश्यामि चंचलवा स्थितिं स्थिराम. Word to word, Arjuna Vacha, Arjuna said, Yaha ayam, this system, yoga, mysticism, tvaya, by you, proktaha, described, samyena, generally, Madhusudana, O killer of the demon Madhu, etasya, of this, aham, I, na, do not, pashyami, see, chanchalavat, due to being restless, sthitim, situation, stiram, stable. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. So the entire system of Dhyan Yoga that Krishna has elaborately explained here, Arjuna is telling Krishna, my dear Krishna, for me it is impractical. I can't handle the system. Why? Because my mind is very restless and unsteady. So Prabhupada writes here in the purport, this system of yoga, which Dhyan Yoga, starts from the verse, I think it is the 11th verse of the 6th chapter, Shocho Deshe. Krishna is explaining the entire system of Dhyan Yoga till the previous verse, 32. Sa Yogi Parama Mataha. So this entire set of verses, Arjuna rejects because he feels that he is incapable of doing it. Not that the process of Dhyan Yoga is not powerful, the process is very powerful, but Arjuna feels he is incapable of doing it. And Srila Prabhupada writes that if Arjuna, who is such a powerful warrior, so Prabhupada gives the qualities of Arjuna, right? So Arjuna was not an ordinary person. First, Arjuna was from the royal family. Right? Second, he had numerous qualities. He was a great warrior. He went. He actually conquered Shiva. He conquered Indra. Yeah. So Arjuna was a very, very powerful warrior also. And above all, he was very intimate friend of Krishna. So these were the qualities of Arjuna. So we know that when Arjuna goes to the heavenly planets, Urvashi comes to propose to Arjuna, and Arjuna rejects Urvashi, saying that you are my mother. Completely rejects. In our recent Char Dham Yatra, we went to this place in Badrinath. Badrinath is the place where Urvashi was born from the thighs of Nar Narayan Rishi. So this Urvashi proposed to Arjuna, but Arjuna just rejected. That means he had so much control over the mind and senses. And for someone like Arjuna to say that, not practical for me, I can't do it. My mind is very unsteady, restless. So Prabhupada says if Arjuna can't practice Dhyana Yoga, then it is not at all possible for anyone in Kali Yuga. And that too, this was 5,000 years ago, correct? That time Kali Yuga was just starting. Now, 5,000 years later, very difficult to practice Dhyana Yoga. Very few people may be there. It's not that there are no people. There may be very few people, but generally it is impossible and impractical. It is an impossible proposal. Prabhupada mentions here. So those who want to imitate this yoga system, who start different yoga schools, in so many ways, they are actually wasting their time because it is not possible. Arjuna very clearly says that the system of Dhyana Yoga is impractical, right? So what is the most practical yoga for Kali Yuga? The most practical yoga is the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? This Krishna consciousness movement is the most practical system of yoga. So that's what Srila Prabhupada explains here, that it's not possible for ordinary people to leave home, to go to the jungles, to practice this kind of yoga. We can just be wherever we are. Sthane Shrita Shrutigatam Tanuva Manobhi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was given the system. Wherever you are, just sit, chant Hare Krishna, read Gita, read Bhagavatam, and your life will be perfect. So now Arjuna gives in text 34 reasons why he feels that the yoga system of Krishna, the Dhyana yoga system, is impractical. And this verse is also very important because here Arjuna is giving the qualities of the mind. What are the various qualities that the mind has? What is the nature of the mind? So if you want to control the mind, we need to know the nature of the mind. Text 34. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna ramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayureva sadushkaram. What word? Chanchalam, flickering. He certainly, manaha, mind, Krishna, O Krishna, pramati, agitating, balavat, strong, dridam, obstinate, tasya, it's, aham, I, nigraham, subduing, manye, think, vayoho, of the wind, eva like, sudushkaram, difficult. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think is more difficult than controlling the wind. So here are the various natures of the mind. So first is the mind is flickering, restless, chanchal. It is never steady. It can't remain in one place doing one thing for a long time. It's always restless. And as Kali Yuga progresses, the restlessness is all the more, right? So previously you had one channel in the TV. Now you have hundreds of channels. Every 5 minutes, people keep changing channels, right? And the same with YouTube, and you just keep changing. Every 5 minutes, you keep changing because the mind is becoming very, very restless. Very difficult to focus. Then turbulent. Turbulent means just like you've seen an ocean, continuous waves. Similarly, in the mind, there are continuous thoughts that keep going on and on. It's always turbulent, always agitating, never in a peaceful state. And obstinate. Obstinate means ziddhi, dridam, right? Once it decides to have something, it just has to have it. It doesn't work. Once the mind hooks on to something, whether it is good or bad, the mind just wants it. That is the nature of the mind. And then very, very strong. Obstinate and then very strong. You just can't overcome it. Imagine just one of these qualities itself is very difficult to handle. If you have a child who's restless, how do you handle this child? Difficult, right? So if you have a child who's obstinate, ziddi, very difficult to handle the child. If you have a child who's very strong, very difficult to deal with such a child. What to speak of a child who is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and strong all together? So that is the mind. Just like you have a monkey, na? Just imagine monkey, matlab, the monkey is restless. Imagine if the monkey is restless and it is very strong and it is very turbulent and it is very obstinate. Very difficult to deal with such a monkey. And mind is exactly like that. So Prabhupada writes here, although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence, that means the mind should follow the intelligence, but it generally doesn't happen, right? So the mind has become so strong that it has overpowered the intelligence also, right? And Prabhupada gives this example from the Kathopanishad. This the body is compared to a chariot, and the mind is compared to the reins, and the intelligence is compared to the driver, and the horses are the senses. So generally, we are supposed to take a chariot in a proper direction. But the mind is so strong that even if one has intelligence, it doesn't help. It doesn't work. Just like Prabhupada gives us example, if someone has very deadly disease, even if you take medicine, the medicine sometimes doesn't work only because the disease is so strong. Similarly, in the modern world, this is our disease, the mental disease. The mind has become so strong. Even sometimes we take the process of Krishna launches the medicine, it seems that it doesn't work because the mind is getting more and more strong. So Prabhupada mentions here, so the easiest way to control the mind, so definitely the process of Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga doesn't work. The easiest way to control the mind is by chanting Hare Krishna. So Maha Mantra is the mantra for the great mantra for deliverance. Maha Mantra. Mantra means mantrayate iti mantra, that which can deliver the mind. So if we continuously chant Hare Krishna and we follow the footsteps of Ambarish Maharaj, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayor, Vacham se Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane, right? If we use our if you use our mind in constantly thinking about Krishna, if you use our words in glorifying Krishna, if we use our legs to go to holy places, in this way, if we engage our senses and if we chant Hare Krishna, then this mind, which is actually impossible to control, can become possible. We can actually control it. So this is Arjuna's reason or Arjuna's honest confession why he can't follow Dhyana Yoga. So Arjuna very honestly confesses, saying that to deal with the mind is very, very difficult. So how does Krishna respond? We will just discuss this one verse and then we will stop for today. Text 35. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena Jagrayate. Anyone wants to repeat the verse? Yeah. Yes.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena Chagrayate.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so the word to word, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the personality of God had said, Asamshayam, undoubtedly, Mahabaho, O mighty armed one, Manaha, the mind, Durnigraham, difficult to curb, Chanchalam, flickering, Abhyasena, by practice, tu, but, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Vairagyena, by detachment, Cha, also, Griyate, can also be controlled. Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So Krishna accepts what Arjuna is saying. So So Krishna, Arjuna is saying, my dear Lord, mind is very difficult to overcome. Krishna is saying, yes, my dear Arjuna, the son of Kunti, what you're saying is correct. Undoubtedly, the mind is very difficult to overcome. It is restless, undoubtedly. But it is possible by two things, Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasa means practice, and Vairagya means detachment. So, what is this practice? So, Prabhupada mentions here, in the present age, no one can follow the Dhana Yoga, going to a forest, sitting, and trying to control the mind, senses, celibacy, remaining alone. All this is not practical in Kali Yuga. But what does practice means? Practice here means sadhana bhakti. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is actually devotional service in practice. So practicing Krishna consciousness, the 9 limbs of devotional service. And out of the 9 limbs, which is the most important, Prabhupada mentions here, Shravanam. Shravanam is the most important thing, right? And the Bhagavatam has this first canto, second chapter has a set of verses. Shranvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti siritsatam Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी तदा रजस्तमो भावा कामलोभादयश्चये चेतिरेतेरनाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्न मनसो भगवत भक्ति योगतः भगवत तत्व विज्ञानम मुक्त संगस्य जायते विद्यते हृदये ग्रंथिश्चिद्यन्ते सर्व संशय क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट्वा एवात्मनीश्वरे. So this entire set of verses which explains how by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing Krishna Katha, all one's anarthas go away systematically. Rajagun, Tamagun goes away, one experiences happiness, one experiences spirituality, self-realization. So that's why Prabhupada is saying here, the more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. So the more we hear about Krishna, the more we are attracted to Krishna, and we are detached from the things that are not Krishna conscious. Right? So this is practice, right? And Vairagya means detachment from matter. So engagement of the mind and spirit is practice, and detachment from matter is Vairagya. So both this is possible by practicing Krishna consciousness, and especially by hearing about Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying this is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. So both goes on simultaneously. Just like when you eat, what happens? You experience two things. You experience satisfaction and you experience freedom from hunger. Right? So similarly, we are all hungry to enjoy pleasures of this world. Right? So, but when we hear about Krishna, that hunger will get quenched. We'll feel satisfied, and simultaneously we'll find strength and devotional service. So this attachment is called Pareshanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. Okay? So just like, Prabhupada is giving this example, when you keep eating, you automatically feel stronger. Your hunger gets satisfied. Similarly, when we keep practicing the process of Krishna consciousness, especially hearing, then we can cure the mad mind. Prabhupada is saying here, hearing of the transcendental activities of Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind. So our mind is literally mad actually. When it will go off and when it will do crazy things, we don't have any idea. Right? So the treatment is hearing about Krishna and having Krishna Prasad. And this treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. If we do this, then we can conquer. So we'll do one more verse with this one section completes off, and then from 37 on is a new section altogether. Text 36. Asamyatmana yogo dushprapa iti me mati vyasatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptum upayata. That's the word to word. Asamyata, unbridled, atmana, by the mind, yoga, self-realization, dushprapaha, difficult to obtain, iti tas, my, matihi, opinion, vasya, controlled, atmana, by the mind, tu, but, Yatata, while endeavoring, shakyah, practical, avaptum, to achieve, upayatah, by appropriate means. Translation: for one whose mind is unbridled, self realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. So, unbridled means not controlled. Just like you have a horse that is unbridled, you can't take that horse in a particular direction. Similarly, once whose mind is unbridled, Krishna is saying, uh, spirituality is very difficult. For one who tries to control the mind by appropriate means, success is assured. That is my opinion. So this is Krishna's opinion here. So proper writes here, uh, one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve self-realization. So while we practice spiritual life, yoga, or and we try simultaneously try to enjoy material sense gratification, it doesn't go hand in hand. Just like, on one hand you're burning fire and the other hand you're pouring water. So that's like that. Or you have this game of snake and ladder. You try to climb on top, but suddenly, you come down again. So many times our practice of spirituality is like that. We go on top and then again succumb to sense gratification, come down. Right. So in this way, we will not achieve progress. So the only way is we need to control the mind. So this is something that's very important and an important note that we meditate on. Uh, the point is, whatever the yoga system, Prabhupada has been explaining this, I think, throughout the Dhana Yoga system, whether it is Dhana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, mind is the central pivot. If we can control the mind, then it is possible that we can achieve success. And controlling mind in Kali Yuga means the practice of Krishna consciousness, and the practice of Krishna consciousness means Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing about Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. So we will stop here from text 37. We can do the next time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any questions, any comments, anything you all would like to add? I hope I was audible and my voice is not very strong actually. Okay. So if there are no questions, we can end for today. Hare Krishna. Thank you.